Morning, Ricky.
Morning, Freddie. Come on, turn on.
Oh, hey, let me get that for you.
Thanks. Sometimes the simplest solution is the one that works. Sometimes it's the most elegant. Today in our video, I want to talk to you about 5 super simple blog revisions you should make in 2020. All of these are based on recent Google updates and current data, so they're really important and definitely worth implementing in your blog. But first, I have to pay the piper. We have to follow through on the things we promise. A few weeks ago, Jim and I made a video about our favorite topics for income sites in 2020. And well, Jim's list won over mine. You voted for his list, and today I have worn shorts to work in January in Idaho, and I've shaved a stripe around my leg. All right, so how to win on Google in 2020. Certainly there's a lot more we could talk about, but these are 5 super simple things that you can do to change your blog, like today, that are gonna help you to succeed in 2020. Tip number 1 might come across as obvious, but please bear with me for just 1 minute. You need to make sure your website is optimized for mobile. 63% of traffic on the web today is viewed via a mobile device, not via a desktop. And because of that, we should be building our sites more for the mobile experience than for the desktop experience. However, because we tend to write blog posts on a computer and not on a phone, we spend most of our time on our own sites on the desktop. Most WordPress themes are going to handle most of this for you. They're going to have, your website's going to be responsive. They're probably going to have a different menu structure for mobile. It's going to look different, and it's probably going to be mostly fine. But there are a few things you should be doing with your content to make sure that it's a better user experience for mobile. The first one is to make sure you have a fair amount of white space. If your website on the desktop, and especially on mobile, is just full of content, big blocks of text, photos, just not much space in between things, it's overbearing, especially on a mobile device. If you see just the whole screen is constantly filled with information, that's not a good user experience, and people are more likely to bounce. The next tip is related to that, and that is big blocks of text. What looks like a normal paragraph on a desktop computer can take up 1, 2, even 3 screens on a mobile device. And if you have to scroll like this to get through a single paragraph, it's just overbearing for users. It feels like a major time commitment. It's like when you read a book and the chapters are like 30 pages long and you're like, do I want to start this chapter? Because it's going to take a while to get done. At least I have that experience. That's how it is on your blog, even when the paragraph is only like 10 sentences long. So stop writing the 5-paragraph essays that have super long paragraphs where you're proving an entire point in one paragraph, and start breaking up and changing the various lengths of paragraphs. Have a 3-sentence paragraph followed by a 1-sentence paragraph, maybe followed by a 5-sentence paragraph, but never allow a paragraph to be more than about 5 or 6 lines long when it's in the WordPress editor in Gutenberg. If it's more than 6 lines long there, it's going to be way too long on a mobile device. This second tip is probably going to catch me a little bit of flack in the comments, but again, please bear with me because it is very important. Every blog post should shoot to win the snippet. The way we do that is by writing the best 2 to 3 sentence answer to the primary search question. So if you're writing a blog post that's meant to answer a specific question, answer it very clearly, succinctly, and with good information within a couple of sentences. The reason that's going to catch me flack from some of you is you're aware that Google very recently put out an update where it used to be you could win the snippet, position number 0, and you could also win position number 1, or 2, or 3. Now, because of this update, if your article is the article that wins the snippet, it won't appear anywhere else on the first page of the search results. And so, because historically people tend to click more on the top ranking articles and less on the snippet on average gets far fewer clicks than the number 1 ranking article. people say you're going to get more traffic to your site. In fact, you'll probably lose traffic now because you won the snippet. Now, I don't think that that's entirely true, and there's a couple reasons why. There are a lot of websites where we've worked with the website owners in Project 24, and some are saying that they've lost a lot of traffic over the last few weeks. Now, there was also a broad core update from Google that came out around the same time, and if you haven't guaranteed that the traffic loss is only on those blog posts where you're winning the snippet frequently, it's not conclusive evidence. We have multiple websites, as we talk about here all the time, where we win very, very, very many snippets, and we haven't seen even a blip in the traffic on our websites. And because of that, the whole losing traffic due to snippet thing is really, really inconclusive. Now, historical data tells us that, again, if you rank number 1 below the snippet, you get more clicks than if you win the snippet. However, because of this change, the results page looks different than it used to look. It used to be you'd see, great, here's the snippet, it catches your eye, which is a really good reason to win it, and then you'd see the same article appear in your field of view. And so if you saw that, you have the option to click either one. Now you don't see that same article, and the reason I say that is because you can click either one, that other article is going to get some of the clicks that today the snippet will probably get, because it's the one that ranks at the top and it's the one that catches your eye. We're going to have to see how that user behavior changes over time and how clicks to the snippet change relative to clicks to the other top articles on the SERPs. And so because it's not conclusive, I would say continue to shoot to win the snippet, and here is why. Winning the snippet allows you to bypass all of the other competition to the number 1 spot on Google. And so especially if you're in a competitive space where you might only rank number 10, 11, 12, well, now you can jump all of them by writing a better 2 to 3 sentence answer. That is a huge opportunity. If you write content that's already ranking at the top, independent of the snippet, there's a case to be made for not winning the snippet. And if you want to do that, if you want to test that out and try it, there's a meta tag you can use to tell Google, I don't want my post to be used in the snippet, and see how that works for you. I don't, again, have conclusive evidence, and so that's going to be something that we're only going to be able to tell over the coming weeks, months, and even years as these changes continue to roll out. Real quick before I go on to the next tip, if you like this video and find tips like this helpful for your blogging, your YouTubing, your internet marketing experience, give us a subscribe. That's what this channel is all about, and then you'll be able to get our videos delivered to you every single Monday. Tip number 3 is to write headlines that appeal to people. In the past, where keyword-dominated search results were just the way things were done, it mattered to write a headline that would let the computer know, let the algorithm know what your content is about. That was important for ranking. With the BERT updates and many updates even preceding that, Google is moving away from keyword-based search results and moving toward semantic-based search results based on what they think you intend, what you mean by the things you search. And so now it's far more important to convince the human to click on your article than it is to try to convince the algorithm that your article is what you say it is. The content in your article makes it clear to Google what your content is about. Now we need to get people to click on it. So write titles that appeal to people by 1, making sure that the title is relevant and descriptive for your content, making sure it's concise, short enough that it will fit on the SERP, and then make sure that it also is appealing. So rather than just having a short title that's descriptive, throw on something to it that makes it stand out from the others. So instead of how to change out a kitchen faucet, it's 3 easy steps for changing changing a kitchen faucet with photos and a step-by-step guide, or something along those lines. I mean, I'm not great at coming up with those on the spot. Jim's way better than me at that, but you get the point. Tip number 4, your website needs to have a good about page. We've talked in the past about expertise, authoritativeness, and trustworthiness. And we have a whole webinar about that, so if you haven't watched that before, make sure you go check it out. This is getting more and more important as Google is expanding the definition of what falls into YMYL. It used to be that sites that had topics on your money and your life required a higher level of EAT. But the definition of YMYL is moving to your opinions, your politics, your news, and many, many other topics. And so it's getting more and more important for all websites to establish a certain level of authoritativeness, even if you're in a fairly small niche. And so we can do that. The first step is to have an about page. A lot of blogs have just ignored this, or they have an about page that's pretty trivial, pretty trite. Think about what you would want to see if you were looking at a website in your particular industry. What kind of information about the organization that's behind the website would you want to know to have a level of confidence that that information is legitimate? That's what Google wants to see. That's what users want to see. And that's how you can stand out a little bit above the crowd. If you're not the primary author on your website, list yourself as the editor of the website and give your background and why you have any level of credibility with this content. If you don't know anything about your topic and you're using outsourced writers, then put together a pseudonym and build that about page around your company, your organization, and give yourself a little bit of credibility that way, and build up that authoritativeness with the about page being sort of the hub and the center of where you would send people to see why you have credibility in your industry. And for those of you that are in Project 24 or considering Project 24, we've actually laid out an EAT course, an EAT course that walks you through step by step, a lot more than just an about page, but all the steps that we would suggest taking to establish that expertise, authoritativeness, and trustworthiness in your industry. Tip number 5 is probably one of the simplest things you could do, and that is to embed videos on your website. The reason it's simple is that you just go to YouTube, click the share button, grab the embed code and just put it in your blog, and the video will appear there. This is part of the license agreement that video creators have with YouTube. If that option is there, then you are allowed to put that video anywhere you want, as long as it's embedded back to YouTube. The creator of the video still gets credit for those views, but what you get is a better user experience in many cases, and you get people staying on your blog longer. Both of those things actually feed in to the Google algorithm, as well as other search engine algorithms. The more you can help the user, the better your articles will rank for future users. And here's how it's super helpful. Whenever you're writing something in your blog post that's kind of visual, maybe it's a how-to, you're just trying to describe something that's a little bit hard to explain in text. Well, you could put in some photos, but if you just put in a video, now you can get users to click on that and stay on your website substantially longer. It gives them the help they need, and it lets search engines know that users are staying on this page longer, which alerts them that it's more helpful, helps you in your search results, in the search results. So use videos on your website. Here's the other thing it helps you with: stock imagery. Stock images are kind of expensive, but getting good photos of your own can be kind of tough, especially if you just don't have a lot of time, you don't know how to do good photography, whatever it is. You can, instead of having to have a bunch of stock images in your blog posts that kind of feel fake anyway, you use videos instead. It gives users kind of the same break that they get from the text. It's even more helpful because it's highly relevant, and it helps you, and it helps the video creator, and helps the user. We have a really good webinar, if I do say so myself. We have a really good webinar that will walk you through our process for how we have repeatedly built websites to generate great income for ourselves, our families, and many other people who have watched that webinar. So make sure you go check that out, and we'll see you next week.